Dan, how was it for you to get your first job as a script reader? And if you can, paint a little bit about your life at that time.
Well, I'd gotten out of NYU film, and I definitely was interested in screenwriting. That was kind of my focus coming out of film school. And I really wanted to get into script reading, and I had been interning at the Tribeca Film Center in New York for a company that was co-owned by Robert De Niro's production company. And in the same building was Miramax Films, and so I just kind of got to know some people there. And it was funny, my first reading job for them, it was their genre division called Dimension Films. And I remember calling up the supervisor there, or no, I'm sorry, I remember getting a referral to them, but the guy said, they're not hiring now, don't bother calling them. And because I was, you know, I had a lot of initiative, I called anyway. And the first thing the supervisor told me when he picked up the phone was, oh, we have a reader job open, do you want to test for it? And so I did a test coverage, which is they give you a script that they've already had coverage on. And so I did coverage on it, so then they evaluate you on that coverage because they already know the script really well. And so that's how I got working for them. And then I transferred over to the Miramax division, which was their parent company. And I had also been freelancing for a number of other companies in New York City, other production companies and studios.
So when you came to New York to go to NYU, do you remember like some of the scripts in your mind that you thought, this is the sort of the genre I want to write in, this is what I want to create?
Well, it was funny because growing up, I was really kind of more into, I guess like Spielberg stuff or kind of more action stuff like Rambo and that kind of stuff. But then before I went to NYU, I transferred in as a junior. I'd started getting into Scorsese, and I was watching, you know, Taxi Driver and that kind of stuff, and Goodfellas, and Oliver Stone. And I knew that Scorsese and Oliver Stone and Spike Lee had gone to NYU, so I really wanted to go there. So I applied, and I got in just on the wait list. And then they had called really late in the summer before my junior year and said, we have an opening on the wait list. So that's why I went to NYU. That's how I was able to get in. And it was just really cool to be in New York where these filmmakers that I really admired had gone, you know. So yeah, Scorsese, Oliver Stone, Spike Lee, the Coen brothers, and these were all filmmakers that I really, you know, wanted to emulate.
So going back to what your jobs were, or what your tasks were, so you finally get in. Here you were told, sorry, don't even bother. You give it a shot anyway. It turns out, as luck would have it, they do have a slot. Do you remember what your first few weeks were as the script reader? And
well, I remember because I got scripts and books because I was in New York, and that was the literary capital. So I would read a lot of books ahead of publication. The agents and book editors would send a book out to the studios to see if any studios or production companies wanted to option the movie rights. And so I would be the first reader at the production company or studio to read that unpublished galley version. And that was hard to do because a lot of times they would literally give you a 600-page book to read overnight. And you had to write up a 3 to 5 page report about it by, you know, noon the next day. And that was hard to do. I actually got let go from one of my jobs early on because I just couldn't turn over the material that fast. And so I had to kind of learn on the job, trial by fire, and just learn to read really fast and to intuit that structure, that movie structure. And as I'm reading this book, I'm asking myself, will this transfer over to a movie? You know, does it have that potential for that 3-4 act structure that 95% of great movies use?
And so it was all about structure? There wasn't also dialogue things? Or
well, yeah, no, it was evaluating the whole thing. As a reader, I was evaluating the whole script, structure, dialogue, you know, character development, all that stuff. But if you're reading something like a novel or a graphic novel, or even like a piece from the New Yorker or Rolling Stone, or you know, any kind of article that they're interested in making a movie of, you have to evaluate it as a potential movie. So you're asking yourself, does it have the 3 or 4 act structure of a commercial film?
So that's interesting. So it sounds actually fairly intimidating, because I know I've been in situations like that where no one really tells you what the rules are. You kind of have to, as you said, intuit or watch other people. So how was that? Were people actually giving you tips on how to do all that, or no, you kind of had to, it was every man for himself?
Not a whole lot. You didn't get a whole lot of feedback. When I was first starting out, maybe a few supervisors might have given me a few little tips about coverage, but after a while, they don't really give you any feedback. You don't even know where this script goes after you send in your coverage report. So I would really have to ask afterward, like, hey, that script that I really loved, did anything happen with it? And so they might tell me, oh, we didn't buy it, but Fox bought it, or something like that. But as a reader, you're not told anything. So you have to inquire, you have to have the initiative to see what happens after that. And you're not a part of the process of development or purchasing it or bidding on it or anything like that. After you read it once, maybe twice, it's out of your hands, and then your supervisors, the coordinators, the execs, the VPs, they're the ones who are going to be deciding whether the company is going to option it or not.
And that's fascinating. I wonder, were there certain scripts that you would read just the first 10 pages of and you just knew right away this was not going to go anywhere? And if so, why?
I mean, as crazy as it sounds, it could be the first paragraph. It could be the first line. I mean, if there's 2 typos in the first line, like, it's probably not going to go anywhere, you know? It's very rare, incredibly rare, that the first 10, 20, 30 pages will be weak, and then the script gets a whole lot better later, you know? If a writer doesn't know how to write a great Act 1, they're not going to learn later or suddenly turn it around and have a great Act 2A or Act 2B.